19 October 2025. A Sunday morning, four hard-hatted people acting like ordinary workers entered the Louvre, the world's largest museum in Paris, with only a few power tools. In just 7 minutes, they stole jewels worth 88 million euros.
News out of France. There has been a robbery at the world-famous Louvre Museum in Paris.
In a scene that could have come straight out of Ocean's 11.
Officials say all leads remain open after Sunday's robbery of crown jewels in the Paris Louvre Museum.
News from France, where police have arrested 5 more people over the Louvre jewelry theft.
From the sapphire set of Queen Maria Amalia and Queen Hortense, they took a crown, a necklace, and earrings. From Marie Louise's set, an emerald necklace and earrings. And from Empress Eugenie, a large corset bow and a tiara. These jewels were represented by gold, diamonds, and sapphires, but experts could not put a true value on them. An incredibly simple and foolish, and yet remarkably successful, theft. The Louvre is not just a museum. It is like a vast labyrinth spread over 380,000 square meters. Once a palace where the royal family lived, it has been transformed into a public treasure house that France takes pride in. It housed more than 600,000 works. It represented the whole history of the country, a center reflecting French culture and identity. For that reason, it was seen as untouchable. The Louvre's cultural and historical value made it widely regarded as the safest place in the world for priceless works of art. At the start of 2025, visitor numbers at the Louvre had reached record levels, about 10 million people a year, a 20% increase compared with before the pandemic. But this increase revealed a staff shortage problem. The Louvre earned 200 million euros a year from ticket sales. However, financial difficulties since 2020 had led to a 15% reduction in security staff. Nearly half of the cameras were outdated. The alarm systems relied on 1990s technology. For months, unions had warned too many rooms, too few security guards, but nobody listened, and that would prove costly for the museum management. The thieves aimed for the Galerie in the Richelieu wing. Inside armored display cases, the last royal jewels that had survived after the Revolution of 1792 were on display. That hall was only 250 meters from the Mona Lisa. It was a place where one might say, no one can rob this. Perhaps for that reason the event felt like a movie scene, but this was not a Hollywood film. It was reality. This robbery was not a high-tech operation that hacked security systems with lasers or explosives. On the contrary, it was very simple. An elevator, a window, a saw, in 7 ruthless minutes. The robbers had prepared their plan well. They chose Sunday, the quietest day of the week. Hours when visitor traffic was low and response times were long. They put on yellow worker vests and arrived at the museum's east face in an ordinary basket freight elevator. The spot they chose was one of the building's few blind spots. That facade was right next to a construction site. Seeing a crane there did not look odd at all, and it was far enough from the main route of the security guards. At 9:30, the robbery began. The freight elevator rose slowly. 2 masked thieves stood in the elevator basket. They reached the second-floor balcony. Tourists below passed by without noticing what was happening. They looked like construction workers. When they reached their position, they cut the reinforced balcony glass with a battery-powered metal cutting machine. No alarm sounded and there was no immediate response. Time was now ticking. Once inside, they headed straight for the 2 display cases they were targeting. They switched on angle grinders and cut the display glass. In a real video shot by a tourist, one of the thieves is seen reaching for the jewels. The thieves took 9 specific pieces: a tiara, a brooch, jewels belonging to Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III, plus emeralds and sapphires. They turned toward the edge of the balcony, and the elevator descended slowly. Camera footage captured 2 silhouettes with bulging bags as they went down. The thieves fled on motorcycles. From start to finish, the whole theft lasted only 7 minutes. A security guard was drawn to the sounds, noticed the broken glass, and triggered the alarm. Security locked the room to avoid confronting the thieves and began evacuating the museum until the police arrived. But that few-minute delay was all the thieves needed. Get in, take the jewels, and get out the same way. The thieves were seen leaving on motorcycles heading south, probably fleeing out of Paris, but not everything went according to plan. While escaping, a 19th century tiara fell or was thrown to the ground. Police later found this tiara damaged in a side street. Police closed the museum entrances. The Louvre remained closed that day. Crime scene teams lifted fingerprints from the elevator's control panel and collected security footage from the inner and outer corridors. It was determined that the thieves had rented the elevator truck 9 days earlier under a false name, and that 2 masked men had seized the truck and changed the license plate. French prosecutors believe a 4-person group in their 30s, linked to organized crime gangs in Paris suburbs, began scouting the Louvre in January. These men were not amateurs, but one piece of evidence would ruin the whole plan. A DNA sample was found. The DNA matched electrician Julien Moreau. He had worked on renovations at the museum in 2023 and therefore knew the interior details. He was caught at the airport with 50,000 euros in cash. Days later, another suspect was arrested in Brussels while trying to sell the sapphire pieces. 2 people have been arrested, 2 remain at large. Prosecutors suspect inside help. Further suspect detentions seem likely, but the stolen jewels have still not been recovered. Such significant and historic jewels are not sold whole because of the risk of being caught. The thieves' only options are to break them down, melt them, and recut the stones. That is why the first week after any museum theft is the most critical. If the pieces are found within that time, they are usually still intact. But if more than a week passes, they disappear forever into a billionaire's bedroom. A comment from an expert: they have 2 options. Break the jewels down and sell the gold and diamonds separately. Wait and hope the insurance companies offer a reward. Sometimes for a 5 million euro loss, they offer a 1 million euro reward. Some thieves wait just to collect that money. One of the stolen jewels was reported to have been put up for sale on a Russian website for $3 million, but whether that is real is unknown. National reaction: a blow to history. France woke up to more than a theft. The incident was a blow to national pride. President Emmanuel Macron called the raid an attack on our history. Jordan Bardella, leader of the national rally, Rassemblement National, described it as an intolerable humiliation. Marine Le Pen said it was a wound opened in the French spirit. Louvre director Laurence Descartes appeared before the Senate. "I have offered my resignation," she said. Moreover, the Louvre was not the only victim. Since September 2025, 3 museums in Paris had been robbed. The National Museum of Natural History, the former President Jacques Chirac Museum, and now the Louvre. The pressure on officials is higher than ever. They must restore the honor of the French people and end this shameful series.